what do you think was most significant with regard to artificial intelligence and its relationship with open source in 2023?
That's an excellent question. When it comes to 2023, I think it was the year of AI being introduced to the masses in terms of being available and something that people can try out and start to use and really figure it out in practice what it is and what it is good for and how it affects and impacts their lives. So
Mhm.
that's from more of a user personal perspective. And I saw AI popping up in communities as well in terms of, AI submitting a change or people submitting a change that was written by AI. Um, so that obviously started a lot of conversations in various communities, as well as on the level of open source foundations who are supporting multiple communities to work on policies and processes in terms of how AI should interact with communities and sort of participate in different ways. Um, and how humans can handle it in an efficient, sufficient, and sustainable way. So that's also again more of the usage perspective in open source. And then there's the large language models and all the conversations in terms of there is some of that available as open source and
Mhm.
like um, Meta had the big announcement that they are open sourcing theirs, but then if you read into the license, then you realize that it's not exactly an open source license, because when you say that, yeah, you can use it, access it, and do whatever, unless you are XYZ and unless you are a competitor or unless you, I don't know, wearing a pink dress that day, then you're not allowed to. And that's not what open source is about. So that also triggered another huge set of conversations in terms of how to make the core of AI accessible to the masses as well. So it's
Mhm.
not a privilege to have access to that, and it's not in the hands of large corporate organizations how AI evolves and gets developed. And I think that will be crucial. That part of the conversation will be crucial for us as just humanity, so that everyone has a chance to have a say, have an understanding, and have some options to steer the conversation as well as the evolution of AI, because otherwise I'm not sure if this is the planet where I want to live if that is denied. Um, that access is denied. So there are a lot of ongoing conversations, and I remember participating in a workshop um, end of 2023 or towards the end of the year, driven by OSI, the Open Source Initiative,
Mhm.
and just really trying to define, you know, the workflows around open source AI. Like how do you even approach it? Like how you approach a language model when you talk about it being open source, like the usage of it, the modifications of it, how you test it, how you deal with the vulnerabilities for something like that. So it's we have to have the understanding of the components of AI and understand what we can use from the software world when we are approaching AI and the language models and all the other components to it, and then how to make sure that everyone has access to open source versions of it. So it's
Yep.
it's a huge challenge.
Um, And I found that the year, I looked at it from the legal standpoint a lot, because that's part of what I do. And there were lots of interesting conversations and topics that came out around the intellectual property associated with artificial intelligence, not the least of which is, does a large language model, for example, have the right to scrape everything from the planet, be it code, be it books, be it what have you, be it news articles from the New York Times or what have you. And I think that's still falling under the category of fair use, but I do think that in 2024, that's going to be looked at really closely because it's a new type of use and it's got a new type of monetization around the what has been collected and scraped more so than anything in the past. And so I think it does need to be looked at from a regulatory and a legal standpoint as to is the value created by the various entities still reasonably well distributed across those that are creating that content and that value and that intellectual property. And like I said, I think we have a new model here for how that's used. And so it has to be looked at. That is something that will happen. Then you've got the models themselves, and you talk about, Meta licensing this llama model as being open source. Regardless of if it was open source or not, it's not really something that's copyrightable. So you can't have a copyright license. So that's something that needs to be worked out as well. And I think it will be. And then finally, you've got the output. Who owns the output? Is that something that can be copyrighted or not?